Hi, I'm Karan Thapar. Over the last few years, I hope you've been watching my program, The Interview on the Wire. During that period, I've interviewed doctors, politicians, businessmen, scientists, authors, and even the occasional Nobel laureate. For me, it's been exciting. I hope it's been enjoyable for you. But these, as you know, are tough times, and if this program is going to remain bold, independent, and sometimes even defiant, then I think we need your support. At the end of the day, it's a truism, but editorial independence is best defended by the viewers. So if you would like this program to remain the way it is, forthright, outspoken, and interesting, then would you consider supporting us? All you have to do is to click on the description at the bottom. But more than anything else, I hope you will continue to watch the interview. Your viewership means an awful lot to me. Hello and welcome to a special interview for The Wire. With the Uniform Civil Code at the top of the political agenda and the center of controversy, that's the subject I shall focus on today. How should we view the concept of a Uniform Civil Code? How should we view its desirability and necessity? Those are the key issues I shall raise today with one of India's best known and most highly regarded poets, lyricists and scriptwriter, and let's not forget the creator of The Angry Young Man, Javed Akhtar. Javed Akhtar, before I talk to you about the necessity and desirability of a uniform civil code, let me put to you a couple of questions about the Prime Minister's intent when in Bhopal on the 27th of June, he advocated the need for a common civil code. Some people say that his real intention was to raise an issue that would resonate in the BJP's favor when elections happen in 8 months' time. He wasn't really intending to legislate a uniform civil code. He was looking for political advantage for his party. How do you respond to that view?
Well, I think it's a futile discussion. You see, we keep on talking about intentions. Why he said this and why she said that and so on and so forth. It is not important. If you do a right thing with the worst intentions, and if you do a wrong thing with best of intentions, what would you prefer? Ultimately, we should use the idea that what is the intention of any person is notional. The reality is the act, what the person is doing. Whether it is right or wrong, let's focus on that instead of guessing the intentions. It's no point. You are moving away from the real topic. The real topic is that he has not invented this idea of uniform civil code. It's mentioned in a constitution. It is desired that someday we will endeavor to achieve this. So, it's there. Why he's saying it, I'm not interested in it. He may be having his own political reason for it. I am interested in whether it is desirable or it is not, whether it's a right idea or it's not. That is important.
I'll come to the question of desirability and correctness in a moment's time, although I suspect you've already given us a hint of your answer, but I'll come to that in a moment's time. Let me ask you one more question about intent. Many people feel that in raising this issue, what the Prime Minister is doing, and maybe even more the BJP around him, is to target Muslims on the issue of polygamy, forgetting, perhaps even deliberately forgetting, that government surveys have shown that polygamy is far more prevalent amongst Hindus than Muslims. Is this, therefore, a dog whistle?
Again, we are making guesses. You are saying that there is more polygamy in Hindus, so it means unintentionally or intentionally?
The government surveys are saying.
Yeah, the government surveys are saying. Then why are you saying that he's targeting only Muslims? We can't say that because it is going to affect across communities. In any uniform civil code, obviously monogamy will be there. You cannot indulge in a small harem, whether you are from any community. Yes, that's true. But again, instead of wasting our energy and time in thinking what are the intentions of someone, Why? People who are trying to stop it, what are their intentions? Why should we get into this discussion? The discussion should be whether it is right or wrong, whether it is desirable or not, whether it is possible or not. There are two kinds of people. People who say it should come, and they hardly know. The fact is that nobody is clear in our society what is Uniform Civil Code. But some people are supporting it and some people are opposing it. It's a very strange situation. Now, first of all, we need a draft. Some people say it is impossible. I disagree with them. I mean, it will be like doubting the intellect of Dr. Ambedkar and Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, because if it is really impossible, and it was always impossible, they would have never mentioned it in the past. It means maybe it is difficult. Of course, it's very difficult, but it is not impossible.
Okay.
It would not have been mentioned. They could see the possibility. That's why they said that. Maybe they thought that's not the right time. Maybe it's too early. We have opened too many fronts at the moment. We are developing a democracy. We have just now achieved independence and so on. But the very fact that such minds, a huge group of very, very intelligent and great intellectuals, these people envisage that. That shows it is possible.
Let's then go into all the issues you raised. Desirability, necessity, content, possibility, and even whether this is the right time or not. But I'll start with the desirability question. India, as you know, is a multi-religious, multi-ethnic, multicultural, democratic country with a constitutional commitment to secularism. So the first question is, should a country like that have a uniform civil code, or would you agree with the 21st Law Commission, which says that there's a danger that our urge for uniformity itself could become a reason for threat to the territorial integrity of the nation?
Sorry, I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. I mean, because there are examples. There are a lot of communities and religions in USA or in England, Great Britain. How there is uniform civil code there, and how people are living.
Can I answer that question?
And not only that, they are
Can
living.
I answer your question?
People who oppose uniform civil code in India are dying to go and live in those countries.
Let me tell you why it's so much easier in the UK or France or Belgium or the United States, and possibly more tricky and awkward, I'm not saying difficult, in India. Those are countries where pretty close to 90% of the people are of one faith, and therefore the uniform civil code will be simply regulating the practices and professions of one faith. Here we have multiple faiths with multiple traditions. Also, one other difference. There, religion has ceased to matter as a significant thing to the lives of people. In India, because of poverty and illiteracy, the hold of religion is much greater. Those are two reasons why it's a lot easier there than here.
What is interesting, that people who are opposing and are known for opposing uniform civil code in India are dying to send their children to USA and get them green cards where there is uniform civil code. They can accept uniform civil code in USA, in UK, but not in India. Why? Why? And you are saying that there are only 10%. All right. So are you saying that in those countries, 10% population is being treated very badly, and they have lost their identity and religion and so on? Are you suggesting that?
Are you asking me?
No, of course.
No. What I'm saying is
you said there are only 10% people who are different than the rest of the people.
If that. No, what I'm saying is that it is easier to impose it there because you're imposing it on a majority population of 95% who are all Christian, and they will readily accept it. And the second big difference is that the hold and influence of religion is a lot less there than here. Because of poverty and illiteracy, people cling to their religion because, to use the second half of Marx's quote,
it is not
it's
the
soul of a soulless world. It is the cry of the oppressed creature.
It is not the problem of the poor at all. If you go to a slum and ask them whether we should have uniform civil code or personal law, they have no idea about it, and it will not affect their lives at all. It is the middle class and upper middle class, that is fighting this war.
Then let me put the question in a different way to you.
Yeah.
I'll put it like this. In a democracy, what should be more important? What should be supreme? The fundamental rights of each citizen, or the religious practices and beliefs of the community to which he or she belongs? Which should be supreme? Fundamental rights or religious practices of your community?
Fundamental rights. I have no doubt about it.
Which means that, in fact, you clearly and definitely in a democracy need a universal civil code, a uniform civil code.
Yeah, why not? You know, fundamental right, there was a time when sati was the fundamental right. So, and it was banned. So, and actually when leave aside the times of Raja Ram Mohan Roy, even in 56 when Hindu Code Bill came, which was to begin with very, very timid, it took almost 50 years to correct it and make it effective. Very slowly amendments and improvements were introduced in Hindu Code Bill. But the day Hindu Code Bill was introduced, I mean the right wing of that community, Hindu community, was in arms. And they were very upset and very angry. So, if you would have cared for that, there would not have been any Hindu Code Bill. Today, a Hindu girl can be a co-partner in the family. It would not have happened. So
that only happened in 2005 under.
Yes, I know that. I know that. And that is how slowly it happened.
Then let me ask you this.
We still have something, there are reforms which are due, and it will happen. But what happens? That as long as you care for the extreme fringe of any community, whether it's Hindu or Muslim or Sikh or Christian, if you bother about the extreme fringe, you will not be able to make any reform at all.
But then you're saying something very interesting, because in addition to clarifying that you think the Uniform Civil Code is desirable and necessary, you're also saying, do not worry about the extreme fringe, or even if it's not an extreme fringe, do not worry about the sizable minority that opposes it. A uniform civil code, like the penal law of the land, to take an example, must be imposed.
You see, it should not be imposed. First of all, let's educate people. Let's bring, and you will educate people by bringing a draft. We should have a draft, because in the absence of the draft, people can spread any kind of rumors and apprehensions and fears. That will end when the first draft will come. The first draft cannot, it may be written by a genius. Then too, it will be objected, people will find faults, and we will have to revise, we have to make some changes, we'll have to take 2 steps forward, 1 step backward, and so on. But in this process, we will be able to reach it. It's totally possible to reach a place which may displease the extremists on all the sides.
But it will be the middle path.
But this will be the middle path, and the most sane, sensible people who are bothered about social justice, who are bothered about progress and modernity, will accept that.
So you're saying
it has happened in past.
You're saying a very important thing. Rather than talk about a uniform civil code in the abstract, the discussion should start when we have a draft, when we have details to actually refer to.
Very right. That is the first step. And this is, all of it is a chaos. Whatever is happening is a chaos. The first thing government owes to the society is a draft.
So what you're also saying, in effect, to Mr. Modi and the government, ये बातचीत तब शुरू करें जब आप हमें एक draft देंगे तो हमें पता भी हो what is it that you're talking about.
Very right. And I know that the first draft will not satisfy many people. But then we will start. This will be the beginning towards something.
An Uttarakhand draft done by Justice Ranjana Desai and her committee is said to be just weeks away. Would that be a starting point?
Not at all. I mean, it's absurd. Uttarakhand has no business to make a draft of personal law. Personal law, the draft can only be made by the center. How can a state have a personal law? Is it possible that every state will have a draft? Now, if Uttarakhand has the right to make
the law does permit, the law does permit states to have a uniform civil code.
There is, of course it allows. And
Goa has one.
Goa was a different situation. Like Kashmir had a different situation. This Muslim personal law was never applied on Kashmir. the only Muslim majority state of India. It was not applied
So
there.
you're saying...
And on the other hand, it was not in Goa. But these are exceptions because of some historical reason.
But you're saying the centre must create a draft. Now, should it be created by the government, or should the government appoint a committee so that it's created by experts at a remove from politics?
Obviously, government always does that. Government is not some person. Government is an organization, a system. And obviously, one expects the government will find the best of the minds to develop a draft. You see, if Uttarakhand makes a draft, then what stops, say, Karnataka to have a draft? Or Chhattisgarh to have a...
Or Madhya Pradesh is planning to create a draft of its own.
Very right. And West Bengal to have a draft.
So we'll have a confusion of drafts.
Of course. Then where will be the uniform civil code?
So what you're saying is twofold very important.
It is the job of the centre, first of all, to kill all the rumours and wrong apprehensions and fears that are being spread by certain vested interests. There has to be a draft. I know the draft will be criticized. No problem. There cannot be a perfect draft to begin with. But then we can have a constructive discussion. We can make changes, have another
but then you have something concrete to go on.
Yeah, you're very right.
But
nothing can happen before a draft.
But then there's a very important message there for the government if they're hearing. First of all, kill the rumors that are spreading because they are unfounded. People don't know the content of the draft, but they're still speculating. Stop it. Secondly, you're saying to the government, begin this discussion when you have a draft to put before us so we know what you're talking about. And the third thing you're saying is, please get the best minds that you can to create that draft. Don't let it be the work of politicians so that it becomes political. Let it be the work of experts. And then, as a nation, we'll discuss it.
I agree with you.
Then let me ask
you are saying it, but I'm agreeing with you.
Then let me ask you this. How ambitious should that draft be? Should we initially limit ourselves to 4 areas where perhaps most people can agree? Marriage, divorce, adoption, inheritance. There clearly, most people agree there's a need for equal treatment and especially gender equality. Should we just start with those 4 and expand later?
What is the expansion that you imagine?
When you start getting into areas of religious influence, custom, matrilineal versus patrilineal,
No, that is again, patrilineal and matrilineal are in the light of the succession, in the light of divorce or marriage, in the light of inheritance and so on. So they are within this 4 topics. They are not out of it. Besides that, people should have the right to have their own religion, their own belief, their own customs. But the fact is that there has to be one touchstone. And the touchstone has to be the Constitution of India. You want to practice whatever you want to do, but a woman is not only a Hindu woman or a Muslim woman or a Christian woman. She is also the citizen of this country. And she has the right to equality, which is provided to her, given to her by the Constitution of India. If there is any conflict between this fundamental right of a woman and your custom, sorry,
the Constitution
should win.
But then you're also saying that you can't limit yourself to 4 subjects because the right of women and discrimination against women happens at multiple levels. And
but these 4 subjects will cover that. These 4 subjects will cover that.
So then you agree, start with these 4 subjects.
Very right. Not a start. These are personal laws. This is personal laws of any community only concerned with these 4 things. So there is nothing which is 5th.
Let me tell you the problem when you touch upon these 4 things. There's a whole range of reforms necessary. I'll give you an example of some of them. Muslim divorce law will have to be changed. Hindu inheritance law will have to be changed. Parsi adoption law will have to be changed, and a whole range of very complex and complicated tribal customs and practices will have to be changed.
Actually, even in Muslim community, the adoption law will have to be changed because under Muslim personal law, a Muslim couple is not allowed to have to adopt a child.
There you are. So the complexity of just these 4 subjects is enormous.
So concentrate on these 4 and let's find a just solution. And we should stick to it. You see, if you are fair, if you are right, majority of Indians will support you. You cannot please everybody. You make any law under the sun. You cannot please everybody. If you think that the extremist, the regressive, outdated, obsolete people will welcome it, don't be in this illusion. But we have to ignore them. Can you imagine? I'll give you one example. Instant divorce is not allowed in Bangladesh, in Pakistan, in most of the Muslim countries. And these Muslim Personal Law Board were these bullahs. They were fighting tooth and nail to remain, to see to it that it remains legal and it is practiced in India. Why? All right, I am not a scholar of Islam. If it is so inherent in the faith and it is so necessary that it cannot be removed, then you should have the guts to say that all those countries which have banned that, they have gone out of the ambit of Islam. Say that. I'll believe you because you are the master, you are the scholar, I am not. But you don't do that. And instead that you are fighting that yes, a man should have the right to say talaq, talaq, talaq and throw the wife out. They were fighting for it since so many years.
I take your point entirely. But let's come back to the Uniform Civil Code.
Okay.
You're saying the 4 issues I mentioned, marriage, divorce, adoption, inheritance, are the key issues.
No, they are the issues. They are not the key issues. There is a difference. They are the only issues under personal law.
2 things follow.
Yeah.
Because of the complexity of all the different religious laws on this, I take it that this is not something that can be legislated between now and the next election 8 months ago. We need time to think it through.
No, this is phase 2. First of all, let us decide whether it is desirable, whether it is possible.
But you've already told me it is desirable.
I think it is desirable.
In fact, you think it's necessary because without it, we won't be a democracy.
And not only, yes, it will be unfair to half the population of the country. And we are being unfair by protecting these laws. And not only Muslim personal law, even Hindu code bill. It's not fair to women.
So the first stage is desirability, which you've already told me. This is not just desirable, it's necessary. The second stage is there's a huge complexity in reforming the various different religious personal laws, whether it's Muslim, Parsi, Hindu or tribal. Therefore, would you agree, this is a process that needs time? Put a limit to how much time you give, but you can't do it between now and the next election.
Now I think we have agreed, you and we have agreed that it is desirable, it is possible. Now we are entering phase 2, that when it should happen.
And
right?
how quickly?
And how quickly. It can't be done quickly because it is definitely a very sensitive topic and we have to, it is like, balancing so many things and being sensitive about things. You see, you should not be ruthless, you should not bulldoze things.
And you must carry people with you.
You have carry people, sensible people, right-minded people, fair people.
No veto to the extremists.
Yeah, you have to confront them. You have to ignore them if possible, and if not possible, then you have to confront them.
So this clearly requires time, but should it be time barred? In other words, can we carry on for
But who is saying it is time barred? Has anybody suggested that?
Because sometimes when people say let it happen on its own, let it evolve, they're basically suggesting let it take a decade or 2 more.
No.
That's why I asked the question.
Because after 2 decades, again we'll be on square A.
Which is why when we say
any time is the wrong time for them and right time for people who want it.
In other words, when you say we need time to think it through carefully, you're also saying, but make sure the job is done by 2 or 3 years.
Let's not bother. No. Why give ourselves 2 years, 3 years? Important thing, the first thing is the draft. The draft will tell us how much time we need. Let us discuss that. Let us revise it. Let us find what people are talking about, what are they saying, what are their apprehensions, what are their suggestions. Now the government is asking for suggestions from people without a
draft.
That will not take us anywhere.
That's the wrong way around.
Yes, that's the wrong way. It should have a draft first.
Then let me put this to you. The government is already suggesting
Yeah.
If you believe what the Chief Minister of Nagaland has reported about his conversation with the Home Minister, it is in all the papers, that they are prepared to make exceptions. The Northeast has complained they don't want a uniform civil code. Tribal communities have complained they don't want a uniform civil code. And the Home Minister is alleged to have told the Chief Minister of Nagaland, it won't apply to the Northeast, it won't apply to tribal communities. And I put it to you, how can a democracy not have the same law for marriage, inheritance, divorce, adoption for the entire country? How can you make exceptions, because then it's not uniform?
Well, you have a point, but at the same time, do you know one thing, that the tribals are not even supposed to pay income tax? So perhaps you have to treat tribals with kid gloves, and you have to, they are in exceptional situation, they are in different time zone, fact.
But I'm not just talking about Santals and Bastar. The whole of the Northeast is a tribal community.
No, that is not possible. That's not possible. Maybe you are tribal today, you are not that tribal, you are educated, you are doing business, you are living in urban society, then you can't say that because I am tribal. It's like a Muslim saying, because I am a Muslim. No, that's not possible. That won't be right. But yes, but people who are in that time zone, people who are still living out of so-called modern society or 21st century, they are living in some other century, you can be a bit more sensitive and compassionate in that case.
That I can understand. For Santals and Bastar, Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand, you're prepared to make an exception.
But if I say and I prove it, that see, my great-grandfather was a tribal, so I'm a tribal, that won't work. No.
But you're also saying, for Meghalaya, Nagaland, Mizoram, right, or the Kukis, there should be no exception.
No, there should be.
They must be part
of the uniform. Otherwise, it's not uniform. It's not uniform. Then everybody will say, treat us as the exception.
Let me quote you what Conrad Sagma, the Chief Minister of Meghalaya, a state that consists of tribal communities, 3 separate multilineal tribes. He said, our party believes the UCC would be against the very idea of India. And what he's saying is, the idea of India is its diversity, that is our strength. If you impose uniformity on it, you're shattering our unity.
No, diversity, what is the definition of diversity? That I should be allowed, whether I should give any part of my property to my daughter or not. That is diversity. I should be allowed to divorce my wife whenever I feel like. That is diversity that they are looking for. I should be allowed to have 2, 3, 4 wives. That is the diversity they are trying to say. What? Diversity is a very good word. But what is the meaning of it? What diversity? Nobody is telling you, and nobody will tell you in a uniform civil code society that you don't go to your religious pilgrimage or to your mosque or church or temple. Nobody will say that. You don't practice your religious rituals. Nobody will say that. But if you think that a religion allows this, so then should we again allow sati? There were people who were fighting for sati. So and even today there are people who glamorize sati. So should we allow that for say...
So you're saying no exception for the northeastern states?
If there is an exception, then it ceases to be uniform civil code.
What about Hindus who might raise the question that inter-gotra marriage is banned by the Hindu faith? A uniform civil code will permit it. What about Khap Panchayats who say we have a right to pass judgment on inter-caste marriages? A uniform civil code will permit it. And most important of all, what about Hindus who say the HUF will disappear? And Hindus might claim that the HUF is actually a tax perk. It's nothing to do with personal law. Let that continue.
But HUF is the part of Hindu code bill. It is not it is not out of it. So yes, it will go. And actually, the fact is that nobody is talking about it. That's a major thing. You know, perhaps I am not an economist or a chartered accountant, but at the same time, I get this impression by talking to people who understand these things more than me, that it will make a difference of perhaps 17 to 18% in their
tax
the
payment.
tax payments and outgoing.
And that's where it hurts.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, 17 to 18% is a fortune for many people. So these are the things. These are the things that have to be dealt with. But it will have to happen.
And this is a part of the draft that has to be made available.
Yes.
And then people will realize exactly what a uniform civil code means.
You see, please, when you are saying realize, I'm saying you are suggesting that the moment draft will come, so many people will go against it. That is not the idea. The idea that the draft should come and then people should show their apprehension, they should their objections, or suggestions and so on. And gradually we should develop a reasonably acceptable common civil code.
And there should be no exception for the Hindu united family.
No, it cannot be. But the moment you put exceptions, then it will cease to be uniform.
So far, we've been talking about different sections of our population, different communities that probably have doubts, aversions, even strong opposition to the idea of a uniform civil code. Let me mention one section of our population that actually would be strongly in favor because they would be great beneficiaries. I'm talking of the LGBTQ community. First of all, they're completely discriminated against under the secular law of the land.
Yeah.
And secondly, as far as different religious personal laws are concerned, they're actually invisible.
Yeah.
They badly need a uniform civil code for things like marriage, inheritance, adoption, death.
Yeah.
They would get dignity from it.
That's true. But I must tell you one more thing. I am already living in uniform civil code. And there are many people who are already living in uniform civil code.
In the sense that?
I'll tell you. I was married to a lady, and after 11 years we decided to part. So according to Muslim personal law, I owed maintenance for 4 months. And then the contract, so-called contract, was over. But in my case, it did not happen. Till my dying day, I owe her whatever she expects from me. And I think we have maintained that. I have a daughter and a son. According to Muslim personal law, if I have any agricultural property, the girl will not get anything, which is actually anti-Quranic also in Muslim personal law. But that is how it is. Whatever I have will go 50-50 to my son and my daughter. So I am living in uniform civil code already. And all those people who are talking of uniform civil code, but they don't give equal share to their daughters, are hypocrites. If you want a uniform civil code, you should start practicing at least as much as you can.
And this was a conscious, deliberate choice of yours to do it.
Yeah. So I am.
Because you weren't required under the terms of our marriage to carry on paying alimony beyond 4 months, but you chose to do it for the rest of your first wife's life.
Yes. Now she doesn't need it. Her children are doing so well. But even today, if she says that I expect this from you, I'll do it. And whenever she had felt that, I've been always there for her.
And you've also deliberately chosen that your 2 children, one a boy, one a girl, will be treated exactly equally.
I'll be very careful that I don't be slightly biased in the favor of my daughter. I'll be careful that because that would be wrong.
I imagine Farhan is listening to that very carefully. But you also agree with me that for some communities, like the LGBTQ community, this would give them the dignity they don't have.
Of course, no doubt about it.
Then what?
They are not allowed to marry. They are not allowed to adopt children. Even a Muslim is not allowed to adopt a child. Have more, but don't adopt.
Quite right. And in the case of Parsis, if a Parsi girl marries a non-Parsi, the child of that union is not considered a Parsi. Which is why the community has dwindled down under 60,000.
Very right, very right. It is soon will become a tribe and cease to be a community.
Let me quote from what the Prime Minister said in Bhopal on the 27th of June when he advocated the need for a code. He said, and I'm quoting him exactly, "You tell me in a home, how can there be one law for one member and another for another member? Will that home be able to function? Many people think there's a lot of sense in that argument. He was speaking colloquially and people were...
This is a statement against patriarchy also.
Yes?
You see...
so you agree with this statement?
I agree.
Let me put the opposite to you.
Yeah.
And then you tell me which is better as an argument. The opposite is the 21st Law Commission. It said, the mere existence of difference does not imply discrimination, but is indicative of a robust democracy. They're not talking about treating brothers and sisters differently. They're talking about allowing the Northeast to have a matrilineal system, Kerala to have a matrilineal system, allowing tribals to follow their own practices in terms of tribal women can marry and divorce as often as they want without any problem. That's what the 21st Law Commission is applying to. For Mr. Modi, it's a problem. It's all one family. They can't have separate laws. For the 21st Law Commission, they're saying, look, you can have differences. It's not discrimination. It's a robust democracy. Which of the two do you agree with?
I am against discrimination. Now, these are words. Both of them are words. Ultimately, are we going to have a fair system where a woman will not be discriminated against, a daughter will not be discriminated against because she is a daughter, because she is a woman? You achieve this and I am happy. For me, that is uniform.
Gender equality is the most important.
Gender equality, perfect gender equality. You give me that under anything. I am not in love with this idea, uniform civil code or common civil code. These are words. But ultimately what I want, and I think that that is only possible because of uniform civil code. You can offer me this in any other package, I am willing to take it.
This is a very important thing you're saying.
What is important? You cannot be unfair to women.
You've now said a very important thing. From your personal point of view, it doesn't matter whether it's a uniform civil code or it's delivered in some other way, whatever that way is. What you want, what is important, what is essential is gender equality, no discrimination against a girl child or an adult woman.
And that is what they dislike. The people who are opposing this idea of uniform civil code, they are not saving their religion, they are saving patriarchy. They are fighting for patriarchy. And I can give you many examples and prove it. It is not only that I think that. You see, these people, according to Quran, the daughter has a share in everything. The share was removed in 1937. It starts, the whole personal law starts that this is an exception. Agricultural property is not included in this law. And they never bothered. They never, in 90 years, no Islamic scholar stood up and said that it is anti-Quran. It is the patriarchy that they are saving. They pretend to sell their idea. They say that we are trying to save the religion. It's a lie.
So what you're saying is the most important thing is gender equality.
The moment you will bring gender equality, all these people, the right-wingers, everywhere will get upset.
But then are you absolutely certain you're prepared to accept as an exception tribes? I know we're not talking about the Northeast any longer. Tribes, and I'll tell you why I put that. Because this is what Article 44 of our Constitution says. The state shall endeavour to secure the citizens a uniform civil code throughout the territory of India. Those great men that you cited when we began the interview knew that throughout the territory of India include Santals, Bastar, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh.
But again, I mean, throughout the territory of India is fine, but you have to be considerate of those people who are actually living in different times. Will you go to that Sentinel Island and tell the Sentinelese the law has changed? Will you go to them and contact them? Will you talk to Jarawas? You see, people who are, when you say tribal, I imagine those tribals who are really, till today, they are living in tribal societies, away from the modern civilization. Yes, you have to be considered there, because they are different people. The fact is this. But people who are living in cities, people who are participating in elections and who are members of political parties, go to universities,
No
they are
exception for
doctors
that.
and engineers.
But you're also
They
saying-
can't say that because tribal blood is running in my veins, you have to treat
But
me
you're
as an
also saying
exception.
something
Yeah.
implicitly, not explicitly,
Yeah.
which is very important. Those great men who devised our constitution, Gandhi, Nehru, Ambedkar, Vallabhbhai Patel, all of them, when they wrote those words throughout the territory of India, they weren't imposing this on tribals like the Santhalese and the Jarawas. They intended, without making it explicit, let them take their time. They can be left as they are for now. We need to be sensitive and thoughtful.
So we should treat people who are living in cities, people who are educated in modern universities and colleges, people who are doing modern jobs and so on and so forth, and are advanced in any other way. But in this matter, they want to be treated as tribals.
And that's not acceptable.
That is not acceptable.
My last question to you,
Yeah.
and I'm going back again to the Article 44 that lays down the Uniform Civil Code. It says the state shall endeavour to secure.
Yeah.
The word endeavour is critical. For 75 years, our country thought it was not feasible or sensible to make that endeavour. Has India changed enough to make that endeavour sensible today?
Whenever you wait for another 100 years, again people say, is it the right time? There is no right time
Just
for
do it.
the male chauvinist that he should share equal status with a woman. No time will ever come.
It just has to be done.
It has to be done. It has to be done, and it has to be done sensitively and reasonably and carefully, trying to take as many people with us as possible. And for all of it, you need a draft.
That is the most important
That is the
thing.
most. The absence of draft turns it into totally a different chaotic situation. Then it just becomes a kind of a political battle. It ceases to be constructive.
Javed Akhtar, thank you very much for this engaging, eye-opening discussion.
Thank you.
I have to tell you something. I applaud you as a father for ensuring that your son and daughter are treated equally. I applaud you as a husband or ex-husband for ensuring that your first wife gets her alimony for as long as she wants. That's remarkable. There are many other people who have not done that to their children or to their ex-wives. Thank you for this interview. Hi, I'm Karan Thapar. Over the last few years, I hope you've been watching my program, The Interview on the Wire. During that period, I've interviewed doctors, politicians, businessmen, scientists, authors, and even the occasional Nobel laureate. For me, it's been exciting. I hope it's been enjoyable for you. But these, as you know, are tough times, and if this program is going to remain bold, independent, and sometimes even defiant, then I think we need your support. At the end of the day, it's a truism, but editorial independence is best defended by the viewers. So if you would like this program to remain the way it is, forthright, outspoken, and interesting, then would you consider supporting us? All you have to do is to click on the description at the bottom. But more than anything else, I hope you will continue to watch The Interview. Your viewership means an awful lot to me.